That was a fun class to be a part of, especially from coming in last place to seeing guys leave, to seeing guys want to go and get better situations and kind of I mean, I'm being dramatic, but leaving us for dead in a sense, thinking that it was over here at Purdue. I mean, spilling things out that Purdue isn't the school to go to, like you would ask that question. It was once a time where a kid would say, "No, I'm not going to Purdue. They trash." Like, I mean, we were last place in big. Like, I asked Dakota and PJ, like, well, who commits to the last place team in the Big Ten? Like, who does that? And those guys had a type of fight that they want to come in and fix it. And when guys left out, and you have five guys come in that want to fix it, that get to their very first workout 2 hours early, I mean, it makes like my life so much easier. And then when those guys allow you to lead them, I mean, because Paint said on our podcast on the other day, I mean, a couple weeks ago, that he didn't know the type of leadership I was giving out, like the type of punishment I was, whatever. I always thought he knew. I always thought for some reason in my head, Paint made that up. So I even would tell guys like, nah, Paint said get on the VersaClimb. Like, nah, like it came from the top. I would always say that. I wouldn't say Paint said. I would say, nah, it came from the top. Nobody ever questioned me on who the top was. And I never, in my head, it was Paint. So it was one of the things where
That's
those
perfect.
guys, they wanted to be led. They wanted to win. They knew where we had come from. And they wanted to be a part of a winning culture. And it was, that year was after well, I'm lying. We had a great summer. John Noctius comes in October. We go to Maui. We have fun. We win some games. But then we hit December. We lose to North Florida, Garner-Webb, Vanderbilt. No, who was the fourth? We lose to fourth. Oh, and Notre Dame. We lose all four games in a row going into Christmas. Like, Payne gave us Christmas off. And we were playing Minnesota, I think, on like a Thursday. And like we got practice on the and like you we under at this time I'm a junior, so I understand practice, I understand schedules. We played in a couple of days, we shouldn't be going hard. You know what I mean? Our legs, we need our legs. That was kind of always our thing. We need our legs. We came back from like that break and we got into Mackey, and it must have been like all rules in college basketball had went out the window. Like it was like no regard for human life in that practice. Like, but it was one of those practices that it made us come together as a team because we all looked at each other and we could not stand the coaches. If you went for a pump fake, if you went for a jab step, you had to run to the top of Mackey. Like it was one of those questions. It was one of those practices where you question if you could make it through the end of it. So I mean, after that, we all got to go in the locker room. We got to kick it, and we won a game, Minnesota. The next, we go on the road to Penn State, and you mentioned it earlier. Kendall hit a shot that kind of helped our season kind of make a pivot in our season. But that halftime, I mean, I remember that halftime. I remember a lot of halftimes, but I remember that halftime because I lost it. Like, I don't know if Paint spoke because I felt as though we were creeping right back. We had just lost four in a row. We won a big one at home. We on the road. It felt like we were going back into that previous season. And we hit that mode and we came out, we won that game, and I don't think we looked back. I think that gave us a lot of confidence. We ended up going on like a 5 or 6 game win streak. And then, I mean, we lost early in the tournament, but to come from last place in the Big Ten to have that type of season the next year, and then, I mean, the next year you get the McDonald's All American. I mean, that was a really, and I mean, you get the Mr. Basketball and the runner up for Mr. Basketball. So, I mean, then you also get a guy that ends up being the most efficient player in college basketball. Yeah, Elite Eight started forward. I mean, it just turned around real quick. But Paint had I don't know if Paint's ever said it, but I think Paint went after a certain guy, a certain attitude after we came in last place. I think we have Purdue guys in the locker room. Even now to this day, we getting Purdue guys. Like Caleb First is a Purdue
Yeah.
guy. I say that he's from Fort Wayne, and I love it. But he's a Purdue guy. I've seen him in the gym once. Um, I've seen Fletcher work out once. Those are Purdue kids. Those are guys that really don't care about how many stars they have. They just want to come in. They want to work hard. They want to win games, and that's what Purdue has done. I mean, Dakota Mathias didn't have Ohio State offer. I mean, he's in there. I mean, he was with the Sixers. So it's like Paint
Yeah.
sees culture, Paint sees attitudes, and he sees development as something big, but also having the right culture in the locker room. I know a lot of coaches speak about culture, but having the right culture in the locker room is one of the biggest things. Because our team, our sophomore year, talent-wise, is better than us our junior year, I think. You know what I mean? I think that. But culture-wise, we just had a different culture. I mean, we were going to weight room. We had guys wearing from head to toe the same exact outfit. Shirt, socks, same color underwear, same color socks, and your workout shoes. Like it was that serious to the point where, like Payne would say, I stood under a clock in the locker room. I mean, in the weight room. And if you were 30 seconds late, like, no, man, get on the versa climber. Come work out later. Like we set a type of culture that it was fun to be a part of because then other guys, you don't have to say anything. Other guys say you get on the versa climber. And then once sophomores start leading freshmen, you know what I mean, or stuff like that. We didn't. Neil Bashir was our senior, so I mean, it ended up just being a fun culture, a fun locker room to be around.
Nice. So a lot of times it seems like guys get like kind of singled out for being the leader of the team. And I think you got a lot of credit for kind of turning that culture around, like you were just talking about. How does that kind of come about? Like, is it player decided who's the leader? Is it just mostly through your actions? Does Painter have any input on that?
Well, nah, nobody on the team could beat me up, so I was like the self-imposed leader in the locker room.
All right.
I'm just talking. I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
What about Biggie? He's a big.
Nah, Biggie wasn't there yet. AJ didn't care enough to fight. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. But no, actually, honestly, I was the captain. I was a captain my sophomore year. So Paint made me a captain halfway through my sophomore year. So going into that next year, I was the captain already. I was the only leader. I was the only returner guard was playing. And at that time in the Big Ten, you had Terran Petway, you had D'Angelo Russell coming in, you had Karis LeVert, you had DJ Newble, you had Frank Kaminsky and Sam Decker, you had Travis Trice and Denzel Valentine. You had Kendrick Nunn and Malcolm Hill in Illinois. So you had all good guards. And then Coach Brantley, I mean, I talk to Coach Brantley every day almost to this day. He would ask me at Maymaster, hey, Ray, who going to guard Terran Petway? You going to let a freshman guard Terran Petway? Oh, we ain't got no chance. So he would say stuff like that. He would say, if he could shoot better than you and he ended up guarding better than you, when you going to play? So Coach Brantley really got into my head defensively that year, just not being embarrassed because obviously I was going to play. And he said, hey, Ray, this freshman D'Angelo Russell, he coming in, he going to cook you. So it's like he gave me a lot of that to go out there and just be a good defender, go out there and work with Gavin Roberts, who is a strength coach now. He was an assistant strength coach then. We spent a lot of time in the weight room in Maymaster. We work out in the football weight room. So, I mean, we just changing my body, getting my lower body prepared. So when those freshmen do come in, obviously I'm a captain, and that doesn't matter. I was a captain the year before, and I only play, I think, 20 minutes a game. But I know Dakota Mathias can shoot better than me. I know Vince Edwards is bigger than me. He's more skilled than me. So in open gym, I can't let these guys have a good time. So it was open gyms where I would tell Dakota, like, he's a freshman. I was like, you're not shooting today. And he would look at me like, what's this dude talking about? And every time he catches the ball, I foul him. Every time. To the point where, like, I'm just imposing my will and I'm kind of enforcing myself to start denying people the ball and do certain things. But also the guys saw how hard I would go open gym and how much I cared to make them better and kind of push them to certain extremes. Because I would tell them, if you can't take me pushing on you and making you want to fight me, what you gonna do at Michigan State? You know what I mean? When we on the road and it's the Breslin Center and they throwing beads at our family, you know what I mean? They right there on top of us. So it's one of those things where guys understood that I cared, so they allowed me to lead. But then also I do get a lot of credit, but John Noctis should get just as much or even more. Because John Noctis came into the season after the season starts, after he had, been in a situation where he was going somewhere else, told he couldn't end up going, had to find a situation, ends up at Purdue. He comes in with, I think, a broken finger or something. And his attitude about just being ready to play and not caring just fed to the young guys. And John Noctis came in and he took leadership like of those young guys. I mean, even when he left Purdue, like a lot of people don't know this, he came back and he lived with Klein. Like I think it was my senior year. Yeah, he lived with Klein and Grady and those guys. Like he would cook them dinner, so because John can really, really cook. So it's like those with young guys and like PJ, when PJ was a freshman, even though PJ was a freshman, he was a point guard, he was playing behind Jo. Jo had a certain type of leadership and a certain type of way with the young guys that he earned their respect. And he was just kind of like the cool big brother. So Jo definitely changed the program and gave us a swag. Purdue, people kind of give it to Carson and kind of gave us a swag. But I think John Noctis really gave us a different type of swag. He was from Miami, from the South. He lived in Colorado, came to Indiana, which is a different type of demeanor. But those young guys, I mean, Basil, PJ, Kendall, I mean, everybody, even that next year when he didn't play with us, Klein, Grady, Grant, they really attracted to Jo. He should get a lot of credit too.